All right. So our builders call. Um, it's cool. I guess I'm going to get like 400 bucks. Woohoo! Look, I'm not. I'll take it. I'll take 400 bucks. I'm not like belittling 400 bucks. But but after IRS takes a couple $100 out of it, says 200. And I can do a lot of 200 bucks. I can put ads in the paper. I can reinvest in my business. So I'm fired up about it. But I'm just doing what I typically do. That's why I love contests. You get rewarded for just doing what you're doing. Like, I don't know if my attitude's right on contests, but if I win something, great. If I don't, I just keep my head down. I keep doing what I do to recruit and build. And I've only tweaked up just a little bit on my recruiting investment, and the results have been more than double the return of people responding and so it's really weird. So I think there's a lot of people looking out there, a lot of good stuff going on. Anyway. So what am I going to talk about today? Well, we had a great Cincinnati meeting. It was very enjoyable. I had a great time. I love going to the meeting, and I feel like I can contribute something. I really did much better job at doing what I did on our conference call the other day. And I was thinking about doing the same thing on the recruiting side to show all the possibilities that you miss if you don't decide to recruit or don't decide to go after it. And I don't know that I'm ready to do that talk yet. Got to kind of get some stuff kind of in my mind. One thing I did talk about on that call was really the idea of deciding what you want your life to be, deciding what your future is. So there's this great book by a guy by the name of Matthew Kelly. He writes this book called Off Balance. I think there was an article, so I can find it. I'm looking at I think I have it at home. But there was an article written, I forgot, just recently, I forgot what famous guy, it might have been Elon Musk or something, that said that the work-life balance idea, I don't know, the title of the article was he was kind of poo-pooing the idea of work-life balance. And Matthew Kelly in his book, Off Balance, talks about that. The work-life balance is a charade. It's a veil. It's fake, right? Work-life balance is fake. It's what it is it's kind of defining a system by which people think about work or life, like they're mutually exclusive. Instead of thinking about purpose and what drives you, right, and what is important to you, and deciding once you know your priorities of what is important and what you value, then it becomes merging what you value with what you do, okay? But Alex, how do I know what I value? Exactly. The whole idea of you wandering around confused and distracted is a symptom of not knowing what you value, and then the things that you do don't match what it is you value. Like the most happiest times of my life have been when I didn't know where I was going, what I wanted to do. I thought I did, and then I tried to do whatever. And here's typically where my decisions were back in the day when I didn't really know my purpose. I mean, it's like there's two great things that happen in your life: the day you were born and the day you figured out the reason why you're here on this earth, right? So in my life, when I've struggled and I ended up chasing things I thought I wanted, which was things that made me feel good, things that made me feel good about myself, or I thought, it was better look good than feel good. When I got out of the academy, I was all about creating an image. An image. I was, you know, I grew up in California, and I went back to California. So I was really caught up in the whole California, it's better to look good than to feel good thing. And so I was looking at, plus I was single. So, you know, when you're single, when I was single, I was looking for affirmation from women. And I just went crazy. I dated as much as I could. There was a time, I'm not proud of this too. I'm just telling you where my head's at. I don't know if you can relate. There was a time I had like 7 long-distance girlfriends who did not know about each other. So I'd fly and visit, and you know, and then when I went into relationships was when they wanted me to meet the parents. So I was good at getting to the point of meeting the parents. And then when that happened, it's like, oh man, this is getting too serious, and then I'll break it off. So that was kind of my thing. It was more, I needed validation that I was something, and I got it through relationships. Man. I got to show you a picture. Okay, so forgive me. Okay, so okay. This is me as the first lieutenant. This is the time I was talking about. Okay. Wow, that's weird. How did that happen? Let me zoom back in. Okay. Okay, that was me as a second lieutenant. It's like, wow, Alex, you really, that was about, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 pounds ago. Okay, so this is the guy I'm talking about. This dude was looking for having fun. I was just looking for having fun. I was looking for validation. I was looking for things that felt good to me, that affirmed me. And I look at this dude, and it's like, dude, you know, I was not happy. I thought I was going to be happy, but I wasn't. It was temporary. So I didn't know what my purpose was. I was just starting out in life. Like, who really knows? Like, think back to when you were 20-something, right? Think when you were 20-something, did you know what you wanted to do with the rest of your life? You know, it's really kind of a discovery process. And what I found out was I was chasing pleasure. I thought happiness, I was chasing happiness, you know, pleasure. I was hedonism. I was chasing that kind of stuff. And I was never happy. I thought it felt good, but then I was not happy in the end. I was empty, you know. My walk with the Lord was, you know, I mean, it was at a certain level. It wasn't the relationship that it should have been, but I had a relationship, but it's more at my convenience. You know, it was like God was someone who I would just call on when I was in trouble. You know, I was one of those kind of kids. Hey, help me, I'm in trouble. But then when things are going good, I'd forget about him, you know. He was just, you know, I mean, I don't know if you can relate to that. That was my thing. And so as I learned much later, and this book really kind of goes into it, Off Balance. So I love the book by Matthew Kelly, Off Balance, is that it goes into these types of things, these issues that, you know, what are you going to do with your life? And when we don't have, when we don't know what we value, we don't know what we treat as a priority, and then when we don't know what to do, we do things that don't make sense. We do things that for the immediate gratification because it either feels good or whatever. It's buying something because it makes you look good, makes you feel good. You ever like get depressed and you go out and buy something? We're talking about that. It just temporarily makes you feel good, if it doesn't solve the problem of you either being broke, you not having great relationships, you not doing something that's, you know, that means something to you. Again, not knowing what you're about and the things that you value. Consequently, when you walk around in a fog like that, like me, then anything you do is anything you do, and there's just nothing. And so what happens is people make wrong decisions based on short-term gratification. How many How many of y'all have done that? It's called a credit card. Credit card is not therapy. Okay, credit card. Where's my credit card? Actually, I do debit cards. I hate credit cards. This does. Okay, I'm going to cover a number. Maybe you guys have some special editing software. This, let me do this number. This is not therapy. Like, people treat this like therapy. They put a bunch of stuff on credit cards so they could feel good, and they make these stupid short-term decisions that end up costing them millions, costing them thousands, like the interest rate on these. I know, I've maxed my cards out. Who else max their cards out? Look, I'm not talking from a position of never having done it. I'm purely talking from a position of doing all these things I'm telling you about. I can tell you stories. Really, I'm a reformed hedonistic person that use credit cards. And so, you can imagine, buying cars that made me look good. I remember I was paying like $800 a month in California for a sports car. I was driving a Porsche 924, and then I traded in for a Mazda RX-7. All tricked out, man. I paid way too much for it. It made me look good. And here's the thing. I was, 21, 22 in California with a sports car. California insurance rates are high. I was paying like $800 a month for car insurance. Yeah, I know. Stupid. Anyway, that's pretty crazy. And that's with USAA. They're the cheapest. Stupid, man, stupid. Just because it made you feel good. So anyway, so Matthew Kelly talks about that in his book. And as I've become older, I started really figuring out that it's not about chasing what feels good. It's chasing what is meaningful. Like, what am I really here for? And it all kind of coincided when I started my walk with the Lord, started getting closer and closer to what it ought to be, developing a real relationship. I had a relationship before, but it was sort of a convenience relationship. Then it turned into more of a servant relationship. It was kind of more from God was there to pray to when I was in trouble, to how can I serve you, Lord? What am I here on this earth to do? What is your will for me? And I will do whatever it is. And so it's kind of morphed to that. And so when I started pursuing more of what would please my Father in heaven, what would be pleasing to him in his eyes, then my life started getting much more focused, because I started figuring out, what do I value? I value pleasing my Father in heaven. Okay, so when I operate from that perspective, instead of going for what feels good, I went for what will please my Father in heaven. How is my interaction with people? Is it going to please my Father if I do it, or if I treat someone poorly, will it displease them? Okay. I figured out that my root sin in my life was selfishness. That I found that anytime I made a bad decision that was sinful, okay, that I'd have to confess, it was based purely on selfishness. So understanding that my root sin is selfishness, then I could combat my root sin of selfishness with selflessness. I knew that when I started acting and operating from a position of selflessness, where I would give myself away, especially when it made no sense, no financial sense, which I definitely have done that, give myself away to people. I do a hotspot meeting where I had nobody in my downline there, but I would still do it anyway. I remember for about 3 or 4 years, I'd put about 50,000 miles on my car every year doing hotspot meetings. I did like 4 a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like 3 weeks out of the month. It was like 3 years, literally doing that, not doing it. Well, I didn't do it. I just felt like I needed to serve others, regardless if they were in my downline or not, right? And I discovered a lot about myself, what I was willing to do, the hardships and things I was willing to endure, of sleeping in my car and doing all these crazy things. Again, it was for me. It was for me to know what it's like to serve and not make it easy. Like, serving out of inconvenience versus convenience. And that's where I really discovered how to combat my root sin. So, like, I figured it out for me, what I need to do anytime that I feel like making a selfish decision is counteracting that decision with something that is selfless. What can I do that I don't benefit from for someone else? What can I do for someone else? And that always got me on track. So there's a tremendous amount of self-discovery with getting that point. Again, everything that I've done that I've made like epiphanies in my life has been because of my walk and relationship with God and my relationship with the Lord, what that has driven me to do. And it's amazing what he puts people in your life that kind of helps you discover these things, which is like, man, I'm wide open all the time, right? So as I've gone through my life, realizing that, it was like it changed my life. It changed how I looked at things. And all the books I've read now have come through that lens of what is God trying to teach me to serve him better. So everything around me, the people I meet, the books I read, is all about how can I become better to serve my Father in heaven? How can I be better to become more selfless than selfish? Okay? I'm not perfect at it by all means, but at least part of understanding a problem is acknowledging it. So, I guess what I would wish for you is that you figured out your root sin in your life. What is the root sin in your life? Everyone has that root core sin that causes you to do all kinds of manner of bad decisions that don't serve the Lord, right? What is it for you? Like I discovered my selfishness. Maybe yours is different, okay? But I would just pray that you would find what that is for you, because I think I believe it'll change your life in really a tremendous way, okay? So I didn't mean this to be preachy. I'm not trying to preach. I'm just telling you what's up with me and kind of this process of understanding what I value, okay? So in that book, he talks about figuring out what you value. Okay, so let's kind of attack it from the other way. Distractions. How many of us, raise your hand, if you've been distracted that takes you off your game of what you're supposed to be doing? Anybody? I'll raise my hand. There's Scott. Scott raises his hand. Can I hear an amen? Okay, I think I hear it. I hear amens out there. Okay, so let me lay this one on you. I found that when I've been distracted by stuff, guess what? It's because I let myself get distracted. I discovered that distractions, regardless of what caused the distraction, I let myself be distracted. So distractions in your life is really a choice. It's amazing. Matthew Kelly talks about this in another book I read of his. I forgot what it's called. I've been reading it lately. Hold on, let me look. Oh yeah, this one, okay, this book rocks. It's called Perfectly Yourself. Okay, this is, I believe in reading books through the Alliance for sure, but I also believe in increasing my relationship with my Lord. And sometimes part of that is not just sitting in church. Part of that is sitting in church and also praying every day, but part of that is also understanding God better, understanding my relationship with him better, examining what that's about. It's kind of like with your spouse. Working on your relationship with your spouse. Well, I got to work on my relationship with my Lord, and this is a great book, and he talks about distractions in here. It's like towards the end. Can you tell I'm a Matthew Kelly fan? Perfectly Yourself by Matthew Kelly. He talks about distractions is what we let distractions in our lives. So distractions are not an excuse. You can make an excuse because you let it enter your life, right? Distractions. And so how do you, so the natural question is, well, okay, now that you told me I can control it, how do I control it? How do I not let distractions take me off what I'm supposed to be doing? Well, that's exactly the problem. You don't know what you are supposed to be doing because you don't know what you value in your life, right? Now, if I asked you the question, which is always a great question, tell me what do you value in your life? And you're going to tell me all kinds of things that maybe you're supposed to say, things that you're supposed to say because it sounds good, right? But then how I know that you're not living what you value is I look at your calendar and you say, I value God in my life. All right, awesome. So tell me, what do you do every day to enhance your relationship with our Lord? Well, I mean, I go to church on Wednesdays and Sundays. Awesome. Like, I'm not judging. I'm just asking you the question. You judge yourself, bro. Okay. All right. So if the only time you ever interacted with your wife was on Wednesday nights and Sundays, Sunday morning, and then some of y'all go to church at night. So let me ask you, what kind of relationship would you have with your wife if you only interacted with her on a couple hours on Wednesday night, and then on Sunday, a couple hours on Sunday morning, and a couple hours of Sunday evening? Well, as I do a Bible study, I do a 2-hour Bible study Friday nights. Okay, let me ask you again. What kind of relationship would you have with your spouse if you did 2 hours on Wednesday night, 2 hours on Friday night, 2 hours on Sunday morning, and 2 hours on Sunday evening? That's what, 8 hours? Whoa, man. The problem is you spend 2 hours on social media every freaking day. So you tell me, how do you judge your relationship? Dude, I'm sorry, man. I don't want to sound judgmental. I'm talking about me when I was like that, okay? Every time I sound like that, it's like I'm talking to me, how I've been in the past where, anyway. So I've let distractions in my life because I've let them, like, here's the great thing, social media. So let's talk about the 2 hours in social media a day. How many of y'all do that? Okay? Like, you convict yourself. A guilty conscience needs no accuser. I'm just asking you the question. How many of y'all spend 2 hours a day on social media? Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter. Okay? Now, Alex, but you're on those. I only use those for recruiting purely for recruiting. I never check Facebook. I don't make any comments. I give a squat about making comments. Don't tell me ever post anything. It has to do with my business and recruiting. I never check. Like, I've got relatives, like my niece had a new baby, and she posted pictures on Facebook. Woohoo! I'm going to go and visit maybe sometime, but I'm not going to, I don't care. I care, but I don't care. I'm not going to, Alex, you're cold-hearted. I know your excuse is to keep up with your family. Whatever, man. But how many of y'all spend 2 hours on social media every day? Do you know that if you multiply 2 hours times 365 days, okay, get ready, hold on to your seat, you spent 1 month out of every 12 months of the year on social media. 12 months, that equals 1 month. And I'm not talking accounting for sleep time during that month. Pure around the clock 1 month on social media every year. Seriously? You probably spend more time on social media than you do pooping and peeing. I am reformed. I do not do that. I don't do that because I realize this. See, here's the problem. With that 1 month, what could you have done with that 1 month? How many people could you have served with that 1 month? How many treasures that you would have built up in heaven by using that time to serve other people, to do what is meaningful to you? Does that make sense? Let's go back to the whole thing I was talking about, distractions. People who know who they are and what they value and what they want to accomplish in this world are not distracted, right? I'll use Andy Albright as an example. That dude's not distracted. You guys have any question that Andy's not distracted? Now here's what knowing who you are and what you value and what you want to accomplish in this life, here's why that is the antidote for distraction. Because you've already made a decision of who you are. You've already made the decision in life on what you value, which then informs every decision you make on what you will do with your time, right? So if your buddies come to you and say, hey Scott, man, let's go out, hang out at the bar, and let's watch the Bengals play the Browns. Oh, woo-hoo. Very excited, the Ohio rivalry. Oh, that's so sad. I'm actually rooting for the Browns. Bengals, Bengals, Andy Dalton, whatever, Okay. But because, Scott, you have already decided that this is who I am, my value system is this is what I want to accomplish in my life, you can say back to that person that asked you to go out, say, hey, listen, dude, listen, I'll just use Scott as a name. Hey, listen, I'm going to spend 2 hours with my son, helping him with his homework and just hanging out with him tonight. Then after that, I'm going to hang out with my wife, right? Then after that, I'm going to do some reading in my business. And then I'm going to call a couple of my people I'm just getting started. So that's really my whole evening. So sorry, man, maybe another time. Okay, do you see how immediately it's like a decision? You already know because you know what you value. You value time with your family. You value your business and what you're trying to accomplish long-term with your business, that there's no room for going out with the gang to watch the Bengals, right, in that time period. Okay? He said, well, how about Sunday? You know, let's watch some Sunday night football. Well, okay, I spend a couple hours in church. Okay. Then I go out with my family to eat and just hang out with them. And then I've got some calls to make. I got to book appointments for Monday and Tuesday in my business. And then I'm just going to hang out with the Lord for a little bit. I'm just going to read the Bible and catch up on my reading for my business as well. Okay, how easy it is to be able to say that to someone. Otherwise, if you didn't know that those are the things you value in your life, then you start going, well, you know what, I could probably, you know, my son will understand. My wife, you know, they know I need to hang out with my buddies. And then they hang out. And then it's a distraction, right? It's like, well, you know, I can make dials on Saturday. I don't need to make dials Friday night or whatever, right? Do you understand kind of using that analogy? How many times have you made those decisions because you didn't value what you said you value? And here's the problem. The problem is you profess to value those things, but then you make decisions that are not what you believe you value. Then there's the disconnect, the incongruity in your own spirit and mind, right? Mind, body, and spirit that is not aligned. It's all over the place. And then what happens is you become unhappy, and then the results of those actions lead to divorce, leads to passing kids around on holidays, leads to financial ruin because now you've got to pay alimony and child support. Do you see what I'm saying? Leads to a business that hasn't been built, an awesome business that you could build that hasn't been built, and you lose all the opportunity there and all the ability and the opportunity to serve other people. And then all this crap happens in your life, and then some people, man, they decide to off their life. It's like, man, I'm not worthy, I'm not worth it, this life sucks, I'm just going to end it all, right? Some people end it all and not even kill themselves. It's almost worse. They're living in the grave, but they're still alive. Does that make sense? They live in a rut above the ground, but they're still alive. And they finish out their life the next 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, living in a grave, although they're still alive, with no hope, no purpose. They're just existing, just trying to make it, surviving. Man, there's so many people out there that are in that situation. Like, gang, you're here on this call because you're looking for something more. So let me take you through an exercise of, it starts with understanding what you value. Like, what do I really value in my life? Once you decide that's what I value, then it becomes who I am. How does it become who you are? Because you match up what you do to what you value, then it becomes who you are. Who you are is defined by what you do. Like, I have no way to know what your faith is unless you show me what you do every day with it. You know, do you tell other drivers that they're number one when they cut you off? Or do you pray for them, Lord, I hope he doesn't get into an accident, that he can come back to his family safe, and he realized by driving crazy that he could die. And I pray that he has life insurance. Or do you just say, you're number one? Okay, that's my index finger, but you know what finger I'm talking about, right? And you like have road rage. Show me what you do. It's like after church, it's the race to get out of the parking lot. It's like you totally forgot the gospel about reaping and sowing, right? And you get in your car, it's like you leave church early so you can get ahead of the game. You know, it's kind of like leaving a date early. That's the way I look at it, man. All these people that leave church early just so they can get out of the parking lot, it's as if they had a date with their with their significant other, like when they were dating, and they decide to leave early. They don't finish the night out, it's just they leave the date early. It's like, when have you ever had a relationship with somebody and then so you're dissing God that way because you're not like taking it all to the very end of the service? Drives me crazy. Drives me crazy. Like, how rude that you would get up and leave a dinner party before even thanking the host because you wanted to get out of the parking lot. Okay, I know I'm getting my pet peeve going here, but man, all these holy people that say they're holy, like, show me by your actions, bro. Show me by your actions. You think about putting money into the dish, you think, but it's only like, whatever you had in your pocket. Crap, I'm sorry. I'm sounding preachy. I don't mean to sound preachy. Because I've seen it in myself, okay? So let's talk about how you match your actions. Okay, so let's go through the exercise. So what do you value in your life? We went through this in Cincinnati. It was a lot of fun, but people kind of understood it. So again, it's in the book Off Balance. So what are things, just categories of things that you value, that you think you value? Just like, let's throw them up together. So I have people tell me they like working out. Okay, working out. They like hanging out with friends. They have hobbies. Let's say, whatever hobbies they're doing. Maybe it's woodworking. You put in like the specific hobby. Maybe it's fishing, woodworking, just things that kind of, recreational type ideas. You value your spouse, your relationship with your spouse. You value your children. Okay. Again, let's talk about God. You value your relationship with God. That's a value, we haven't put it in any kind of order yet. Let's say that you like, working out. You like reading. That's recreation for you. You like volunteering. Volunteering at church. That feeds your soul. What's another one? NFL football. Man, when the season comes around, man, you're at the bar, at the sports bar, Monday nights, Thursday nights, and Sunday afternoons, and Sunday night, right? It's amazing how the NFL has totally monetized our addiction to football. Watching a bunch of gazillionaires run around field, not standing up for the anthem, disrespecting the country. Oh, there I go again. There I go again, Scott. I'm probably going to have people drop off because they talk about, it's interesting how people say, well, my intent by doing this one action is not to offend this group of people. But by this action, it's offending this group of people. But because I didn't intend it, it shouldn't offend them. That, understand the logic of that. Okay, so I have the statue of Robert Ely. We have the statue of Robert Ely at the county courthouse. And the reason why we have Robert Ely there is because he was a great whatever. Okay, I'm not taking sides. I'm just explaining that thought process. So Robert E. Lee does not represent racism. Robert E. Lee was a great general who wanted to lead the South in their attempt to separate from the United States. They wanted to create a new country. No different than Yugoslavia, when the Serbians and when Yugoslavia, Czech Republic, that whole thing. Well, that's what Robert Lee wanted to do. Again, I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying he wanted to create a new nation. So people that admire him, it's like, hey, that's a guy who's independent, wanted something better for the Confederacy. let's take this group of states and let's exit. Okay, that's what he stands for, not racism. So, okay, so because I don't intend that to offend people, that's not racism. But the people that are offended are still offended, a real offense, because they look at that as a symbol of racism. So you tell me who's right there. Okay, so people that kneel during the national anthem, we still love the military. We love the people that fought and died for our country. Okay, we don't intend to, okay, but the effect is the same. They are still the people that view the flag, that fought and died for the country, and their grandfathers in World War I and their fathers in World War II feel offended because they stand proudly in front of that flag, because that flag was the only thing that kept them through POW camp. And every time they see the flag, they cry. And they see someone kneeling, disrespecting it, even though that person kneeling says, hey, I wasn't meant to offend you. I'm just like speaking out about social injustice in this country and how unfair it is. Who's right? Well, you're wrong because you shouldn't be offended. Well, okay, in which case? You're wrong because you shouldn't be offended because of the racism thing, or you're wrong because you shouldn't be offended because of the nationalism thing with the flag. Hey, man, I'm not taking sides. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy of that thought process. Anyway, that was a little side note. I'm probably going to get thumbs down on a bunch of these, and I hope I do on those videos. Anyway, so you got the NFL. So you have working out, friends, hobby, spouse, children, God, reading, volunteering, NFL. So let's just kind of leave it there, because this is just an exercise to show you how Patrick Kelly talks about ranking these and understanding what you value, okay? So this is what you do. You take one by one. You do the optometrist thing. You do one versus the other, one versus the other. It's like, is it like I have glasses, right? So you know that it's like, does A look better or B look better? And then I say A looks better. And then he does a click, click. And there's, okay, now does B look better or C look better? I mean, it's just like which looks better. And then we figure out what prescription I should be on. This is the same thing. It's because it's easier to choose between 2 things than 10 things or 5 things or whatever this is. Okay, so you do one by one. So you start at the first one. Which is more important, working out or hanging out with my friends? Well, I value health more than my relationship with my friends, so I'm going to put a check mark with working out. Then I compare working out with hobbies. Again, hobbies are recreation, but working out to me, just being healthy. Okay, working out versus spouse. Now, there's working out with your spouse, which is awesome. But let's just make it mutually exclusive. My spouse is more important. Working out versus my children are more important. Working out versus God, God's more important. Working out versus reading. I like reading, but I like working out better. Working out versus volunteering. I like volunteering, but I'd rather be healthy. Working out versus NFL. NFL, baby! All right, so now we got working out done. So let's do friends. And you go from the first one down, the second one down, third one down. So friends versus hobbies. I really enjoy my hobbies better. Friends versus spouse. Yes, honey. Yes, honey. Friends versus children. Friends versus God. Of course. Friends versus reading. I like reading better than that. Friends versus volunteering. I really enjoy volunteering. Friends versus NFL. NFL, baby. Woo! Anyway. Okay, hobbies. Hobbies versus spouse. Okay. Hobbies versus children. Hobbies versus God. Hobbies versus reading. I don't really like reading. Hobbies versus volunteering. I like volunteering. It makes me feel good about myself. Hobbies versus NFL. NFL, baby. Oh, man. Okay, spouse. Spouse versus children. I believe in the foundation of the husband and wife so that the children have a foundation to be built on. That's just what I believe. That's what I value. So I'm going to put spouse. Spouse versus God. God is the foundation for everything. Spouse versus reading. Yeah, Alex, you're just doing your value system. No, this is just an example. But I'm the one with the marker. So spouse versus reading, spouse. Spouse versus volunteering, spouse. Spouse versus NFL, spouse, baby. All right, Jenny, I love you. Man, I'm trying to get as many points as I can. Man has certain needs, and that's have the wife happy. Children versus God. God's the foundation of everything. Children, it's like Aaron and Abraham, right? I won't go there. Children versus reading, my children, of course. Children versus volunteering, my children. Children versus NFL, children. God versus reading. God versus volunteering. God versus NFL. Hey, man, sometimes NFL is a religion, right? Okay, now, reading versus volunteering. I like volunteering. Reading versus NFL. NFL, baby. Volunteering versus NFL. NFL. All right. So now what you do is you start, wow, this is interesting. So now what you do is you count how many checks. So this has 4 check marks. Friends has 0. Isn't that interesting? Hobbies has 1. Spouse has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Children have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. God has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Reading has 2. Volunteering has 3. And NFL has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is weird. Okay. So now what you do is you rank them now according to the order, the number of points they got from check marks. So number one is God. The next one is spouse. I have no idea how this worked out. Children only got 5. So NFL has 6. Next one is children. That is weird. I don't know how that happened. NFL's children. NFL then children, 5. 4 is working out. By the way, I forgot to put like building your business. Like there really should have been financial in here, you know. But you do it for yourself. This is just an example. Working out. 4. 3 is volunteering. 2 is reading. And 1 is hobbies. And the last one's friends. Okay, so now you've ranked God, then spouse, NFL, children, working out, volunteering. Now, where things really get shaken up is you put finances. I should have put that in. Finances should go in here. Then everything will get racked and stacked a different way. But this tells you the things you value. I must have messed up here, but anyway. But this is like, you are now surprised, aren't you? You should be surprised, like, oh my gosh, I thought I valued friends more. I put social media on here too. I should have put that, but I did that last night. It was kind of funny where they ended up like the very last one. But notice that friends are the lowest. And you would think that friends are probably important to you. But if you really racked and stacked them the way by doing this A/B test, they're like the last thing. It's like, wow, interesting. God, spouse, man, you are an NFL fanatic. So, it's a way for you to look at it. It's like, man, do I really value the NFL? Maybe I'm really I got a problem. I got a problem. And then what Matthew Kelly says, the only ones that you really can focus on are like the top 3 or 4. All the other ones, are kind of, so what you do with this then is, does my life, does my schedule reflect what I value? So now you have at least a starting point to understand what you value in your life. Then what you do is, okay, are the things that I'm doing, the decisions I'm making, right, are the decisions I'm making reflecting what I value? And when they do, that's when you're really figuring something out with yourself, and that you're going to be much more happy because you're finding more meaning in doing the things that you value more than things that you don't value, right? But every decision you make now has a basis of understanding why you're making that decision, okay? Another key point for this is figuring out why you do what you do. Again, I do it for these reasons. And then understanding, what do I want my future to look like? I want my future defined by the decisions I make today to paint the picture of what I see the future is like for my family. Like, I see myself doing more mission-related work, more things that can contribute monetarily to causes, right? Because I value my relationship with God and serving other people. I value those things, right? I want to provide for my children and my spouse in the best way possible, not in a world of materialism, but in a world of spending time with them, spending money to spend time with them. Not spending money on things, but spending money on experiences. Does that make sense? Like doing those kinds of things. I see a future where I have many more people that I've impacted to get them on the right road of serving God's will and not their own will, like turning their will over to God's will and discovering the happiness and joy of knowing what that's like because of exercises like this, to understand what they value. And sometimes it's changing what they value to things that are more meaningful to them. You see how sometimes we think we value things, but it's more selfish desires instead of God's will, God's dream for you. Again, perfectly yourself. Discovering God's dream for you. Let me read the back of this. Do you ever get the feeling that you're not enough, not smart enough, not loved enough, not rich enough, not good enough? We all feel this from time to time, even the rich, the famous, the beautiful, and the geniuses in this world. These feelings are usually born from comparing ourselves with others. But God doesn't compare you to anybody else. Comparisons are worthless in a world of individuals. God simply wants to help you become the person he created you to be, perfectly yourself. You are enough, and his grace is enough. I'm just throwing that in there. His grace is enough, but you are enough. You have enough brains, talent, beauty, laughter, soul, ideas, and love to live in the incredible life God created you to live. So what are you waiting for? Do something today that announces that a new phase has begun in your life. God and all the angels and saints in heaven are cheering for you. Man, you've got a whole stadium. Like, gang, you don't need the NFL because you are in the best stadium in the world. You've got, you know, the holy angels, the Holy of Holies. You got God cheering for you in the stadium up there in heaven, and you're on the field right now. And they're rooting for you, right, to be the best version of yourself, to be perfectly yourself, right? So anyway, I hope that kind of helped you. This is totally not what I was going to talk about today, honestly. This is a little more of a riff from last night at the Cincinnati meeting. I was actually going to teach you how I recruit people. But for some reason, this kind of took over. Anyway, I hope it helped. Thanks, everybody, for plugging in. I think I am done. I hope that helped. So let's, all right. I think that's it. Thanks, everybody, for plugging in. Appreciate y'all. We will get to, like, how I recruit at another time. I'm still trying to score the MP3 of that. So, man, rock on, everybody. God bless. See ya.